Continue tomorrow and come attend tomorrow as well. And in terms of question answers, inshallah we'll do the question answers tomorrow, not today. So it's good to complete the whole course, the workshop, and then at the end if you have any questions. So tomorrow inshallah we'll have at least like half an hour, or the last session after the break from 11:15, 11 till 12, we can do a whole dedicated question answer session. So any questions you have relating to the topic today, just write them down, keep them safe, and then inshallah tomorrow we will conduct a question and answer session bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay, next discussion. Very important. This is actually very, very important. Some factors that cause breakdown of marriage. I've listed 10 here, potentially 11, 12, which I have in my phone somewhere here. There's also benefit in here, right? So but let's see, inshallah. There's 10 here. Some factors that cause breakdown of marriages or causes problems in marriages. These are some of the things that I personally feel, based on a lot of people's experiences and a lot of people's cases that I've dealt with over the years, that generally marriage problems occur because of these reasons. These are really like strong factors in the breakdown of marriages. Things that cause problems within marriage, marital conflicts, etc. Number one, it's a very fundamental point and very simple point, which is basically, I've titled it, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. There's a whole book, as you know, titled Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Anyone read that book? You should read that book. This is also an Islamic concept. How many times people say when they are married, me and my wife are two very different people. Me and my husband, we're completely different. We're just like different people. Of course you are different. You're a woman and he's a man. Of course you're different. You didn't marry another woman, did you? No. You married a man, so of course it's going to be different. Men and women are mentally, psychologically, physically, emotionally two different types of people. Not just men and women, each human being is different from another human being. This is why the greatest mujahada is marriage, is because you have to live with, share with, have children with, and share all aspects of your life with somebody who is completely different, because every human being is different. Not just men and women are different. Men are different to other men and women are different to other women. We all look differently. Any two people who look identical here? Stand up? No. Even twins, still, they're not like absolutely identical. Even our fingerprints, that's why Allah created everyone differently. Fingerprints are different. We are all different. And there's two hadiths I want to mention here. The first hadith is talking about general differences between every human being. And then the second one will be talking about the male, female. So every human being is different. One man is different from another man. Regarding that, there's a hadith in Sunan al-Tirmidhi where Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Al-Muslimu alladhi yukhalitu an-nas wa yasbir ala adahum khayrun min al-Muslim alladhi la yukhalitu an-nas wa la yasbir ala adahum. A believer, a Muslim, man or woman, who intermingles, mixes in with other people, and therefore because of this interaction has to exercise patience and sabr on the difficulties and hardships and harms that he or she experiences from those other people, is better than a Muslim. This is a translation of the hadith. Is better, so a Muslim who lives with people, and because of living you have to exercise sabr, because you will definitely get hardships because you're living with people, is better than a Muslim who la yukhalitu nas, doesn't live with people, and therefore there's no sabr you have to do. So there's two types of people. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, There's one Muslim who lives in a desert. Nobody to fight with, nobody to be jealous of, nobody to get angry at. You're going to just get angry at the sand. Like, sand, why are you so hot? There's no one to be jealous of. Maybe jealous. You look at the sun, oh, I'm jealous of the sun. Like, look at such a beautiful moon. Like, be jealous of the moon. Or if there's some trees or whatever. Like, you don't live with human beings, so nobody to be jealous of, nobody to be angry at. So therefore, you don't have to do sabr. Better than that is a Muslim who takes on the challenge that, you know what, I live with human beings. A human being is a social animal. I will live, and when I live, as a natural consequences of living with people, you have to exercise sabr, because people will hurt your feelings. It is impossible to live with people and feelings not being hurt. Why will your feelings be hurt? Because you are different to other people. The way you think, your father thinks differently, your brother thinks differently. Your view is that this paint, the wall should be painted green, but your father's view is that no, it should be painted pink, whatever. Like your mom's probably pink, or your sister's pink. So everyone has different views. We all think differently. We have all different ideas, different emotions. So when we live with people, it is impossible for someone not to hurt our feelings. So therefore, that's one hadith that shows that we are all different, and because we are all different, people will say things, people will do things, people will make certain gestures and make certain actions that will irritate us. You might be sleeping in a room and someone's snoring. You've got a spouse and that snores. I feel sorry for you. It's not a problem, it's okay. But if you have a spouse that's snoring, and if you're a light sleeper, then it's problematic. But then it doesn't matter, you can just sleep somewhere else. So who said you have to sleep? That's another issue. Again, we made this up like you have to every single day sleep. Like, oh, you don't sleep in my bed. Like, in the earlier times, this is a recent phenomenon. I actually read up on this as well, because I saw Imam, who was it? I think Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, I think. He wrote in his book, and I've quoted this in my book, Islamic Heterosexual Relations, that a husband and wife should not always keep on sleeping together. It's not an Islamic ruling, but according to his opinion was that they shouldn't always sleep together every single night together, regardless of what state they are in. Well, they should not be together. وَلَا يَجْتَمِعَانِ إِلَّا فِي حَالِ الْكَمَالِ. So if you want to be together, then make sure that you prepare for that, you are in a good condition, you groomed yourself, you look your best, you smell nice, which means the woman's not on her menstruation, for example, a man is also not because you can't be every day in a perfect condition. So his opinion was that you don't have to sleep every night together, because you could be in a filthy kind of state or not in your best state. So وَلْيَكُنْ لَهُ فِرَاشٌ وَلْيَكُنْ لَهَا فِرَاشٌ. Those are his words. It was his opinion. Then I looked into this, and then I realized that even in the world, in the West, this concept of what is it called? The king bed or whatever, double bed. It's like a recent phenomenon, like maybe 100 years or something like that. Before they used to have two separate. Before there were no beds, there were firash used to be But even when there were beds, some of our grandparents from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, whatever, or some other countries, you will see that they still had beds next to each other. It's not like one bed. I'm not saying it's haram to have one bed together. I'm just saying that there's some people who it's not the end of the world if you don't sleep in the same bed. Some people think it's the end of the world. I remember this one wife was complaining that he doesn't because he doesn't feel comfortable in the same bed. I said, so what? What's wrong? Just get over it. Yes, does he not fulfill your rights? Yeah, he does fulfill. I like cuddles, but does he never cuddle? No, he does, and then he calls me and puts me off to sleep, and then he goes and sleeps down there. Amazing, great ni'mah. Honestly, we are such ungrateful human beings. This is there's two issues that really we find ourselves in. Wanting attention and being ungrateful. All of us. So, therefore, I was saying, what was I saying?
Snoring.
Sorry?
Snoring.
Snoring, yes. So sometimes, for example, he's remembering everything, alhamdulillah. Sometimes one of the spouses, for example, snores, so you have to sleep separately. And it's not the end of the world. Don't make small issues into big issues. One of the great, and end with this and I'll come back to this, one of the great qualities that we can have, which is the quality of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Perfect example. Perfect. Perfection of humanity. Honestly, we don't read his seerah enough. Perfection of humanity, just every aspect. If we want to judge ourselves, our own lives, how good we are or not, we have to judge it with the life of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How was his eating habits? And when I say sunnah, not just the way what he dressed in, no. What was his eating habits? What was his sleeping habits? How was his living habits? How did he deal with his spouses, his family, other people? One of his qualities was كان سهل الخلق. خلق. How do you say that? كان سهل الخلق. Translation is, he was very easygoing by nature. Sahl, easy. Very easygoing. Now that is an amazing quality to have. Just be easygoing. Don't make massive fuss out of things. Don't take tension. Don't take pressure. Don't make small problems into big problems. You know, it's all in the mind. We can't work on this. I just feel that there's too many people, too stressed with too many things in this world. It's too much anxiety, too much stress about everything. Just relax. Wake up in the morning, don't worry about tomorrow. إذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء وإذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر الصباح. Abdullah ibn Umar used to say. No, that's a hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then Abdullah ibn Umar. No, sorry, this is Abdullah ibn Umar's statement. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib wa 'abir sabil." And then after that he added this. So just take it easy. Don't worry that in 2043 will you be able to eat a samosa or not. We can start planning from now, like in 2043, will I have my pizza and burgers and samosas? I know we don't do it like that, but you know, some of the things we're thinking, when I earn money, you'll get your samosa, don't worry. What am I going to eat in 20 years' time? So anyway, to come back to this point, spouses, so the first hadith was that every human being is different, physically, mentally, like psychologically, etc. Like we're all different, you know, within ourselves. And then specifically, men and women are even more different because there's even more differences. So there's physical differences between men and women, especially mental differences, psychological differences are huge between men and women. Huge. Anyone who denies this is actually just denying the obvious. Islam says there's equality between men and women. But Islam does not say, and no one says, that there is no differences between men and women. Men and women are equal, they have equality, but they're not similar. Men and women are different. Does anybody argue about that? Any man here who has menstruation? Anyone? Put your hand up. Anyone give childbirth? Anyone breastfeeding yesterday, today? Nobody? Okay. Different from this gender here. This gender is different from this gender, without a shadow of doubt. Problem in this day and age is that people confuse equality with similarity. These are two separate things. Equality is something else. Similarity is something else totally different altogether. You know, sometimes I think that you might just see like a feminist women rights activists in about 10 years saying it's not fair that we give birth to children. Why don't men give birth as well? Not fair. Maybe they are already saying that. Equality means, let's share the menstruation. 1 month, you have menstruation, next month, it's not fair. January, I'm going to have menstruation. February, you're going to have menstruation. You have periods, my period's March, the next month is yours. I need to work as well, and I need to do things. I can't have, they call it PMT. And I can't, period pains, for example. It's not fair, I have period pains. That's it, it's equality. You tell the husband, you have period pains, then you stay home and I'll go and do work. And then I have period pains, let's share. It's like washing the dishes and cooking the food. It's a bit like that for some people. Crazy world we're living in. So equality is something else and similarity is something else altogether. Men and women are equal, without a doubt. And in the sight of Allah, Allah says, إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ مُؤْمِنِينَ مُؤْمِنَاتِ قَانِتِينَ قَانِتَاتِ صَادِقِينَ صَادِقَاتِ like مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرَ وَأُنْثَى. Loads of verses, many verses. However, Islam acknowledges, and even general humanity acknowledges, that there's a difference between men and women. There are mental, psychological, physical, emotional differences. And one of the main reasons why we have problems in marriage is because people enter marriages without understanding, without realizing, without appreciating, without giving thought to this aspect that there are inherent fundamental differences between me and my wife or me and my husband. People don't realize that. A young man gets married, 25-year-old, he thinks his wife that's coming to his house is just like his mate that he was hanging around with before marriage. Like he was having shisha every day, she's another, he thinks that she's like him. Like all the mates he used to hang around with, like one of the boys. No, one of the girls. You married a girl, not one of the boys. Hopefully you've married a girl. We forget, we have to remember, we've married a woman. A woman has to remember that I've married a man. Major differences. So I said that hadith, this is derived from another hadith. There's a hadith where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sahih al-Bukhari, he said, "Al-mar'atu kad-dil'a." A woman is like a rib. إن ذهبت تقيمها كسرتها وإن استمتعت بها استمتعت وفيها عوج. A woman is like a rib. If you try to straighten her, you will break her. So therefore, derive benefit from her whilst there is crookedness in that rib. Now a lot of times, people think that this is a condemnation or degrading women, etc. Some non-Muslims have said as well that this hadith is like a problematic hadith. This is not problematic at all. Well, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is addressing the men. He's talking to the men, and he's telling the men that look, he's actually admonishing men that, oh men, realize and know that when you marry, you've married a woman. A woman is different from you. Here, the meant part means that she is different from you. Like she's not like you. She's like a rib, and very specifically trying to highlight the special qualities or the specific characteristics of the female gender, because he said the rib breaks. It's a very delicate part of the body. May Allah forbid, our ribs break, but it's a very delicate part of the body. If you ask the medics as well, the rib is a very delicate part of the body. So, therefore, for a man to realize that this woman that he is married is very delicate, very emotional, very fragile. Women have emotional issues. And I've mentioned this many times before as well in the marriage courses. And it's natural. The beauty of the rib in it is in it being fragile. That's what makes the rib, the makeup of a rib. If the rib wasn't like that, then it's not a rib. So if a woman is not emotional, or not fragile, or not emotional, or not etc., then she won't be a woman. Now a man wants his wife, one of the main causes of marriage problems is because every spouse, especially men, want their wives to be just like themselves. Why can't she be as strong as me? Like, did you marry a man? No. So get over it. Why can't she, be, she can't be. Why can't she think like me? She can't. Are you mad? Are you crazy? That's why I say sometimes, just keep a reminder in your house. like, you know, we have all these frames, so keep in the bedroom and all the rooms like, I married a woman. Reminder. I put an alarm clock every day at 6 p.m. and the alarm, you know, you have something you can name the alarm. You married a woman. Alarm, you married a woman. Oh yeah, I forgot. Because people forget. And likewise, women. Now there are certain, this is what the hadith is saying. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that, look, if you want to derive benefit, then you'd have to, if you've chosen to get married, then you have to live with this. You derive benefit from her as she is. This is the makeup of a woman. So he was talking to the men, highlighting the differences of the women. Likewise, that doesn't mean that it's only the man has to realize that women have these qualities and they're different from us. Women have to also understand that there are differences. So one of the main reasons why we have this problem is because people don't realize these differences. And I talk about this in a lot of the marriage courses as well. Like, there's lots of things, like I mentioned, physically, psychologically, emotionally, we have differences. Women are very emotional. Men have to realize, I'll just mention some differences for men to remember, but we all know women are much more emotional than men. Generally, this is a general thing. Sometimes specifics can be different, but this is what happens generally. I normally give an example. Sometimes women cry and they don't know why they're crying themselves. And that's the sisters. It's possible. Crying, I just feel like crying today. I feel like crying. Why are you crying? Don't know. The man thinks like, why are you crying for like a mad? Just remember, it's a woman, it's okay. Women cry all the time, it's a good quality. It's good to cry. There's nothing wrong with it. There doesn't have to be a reason. She could be, cutting onions and she's crying. Onions make you cry, yes? So, it doesn't have to be any reason. So there's, like I said, women are more fragile, sensitive. They need a bit more attention than men, generally. They need sometimes more love and care than men. Both need, but they need a bit more, which is completely fine. That's how a woman is. Whereas the man, for women to understand, men have this ego thing a bit slightly. So men need to generally, as a man, even within the animal nature, the man needs to be like, needs that kind of respect. Needs to be like, that's why women, if you have a husband, just make him up. You're amazing, you're amazing. Just big him up. That's what's written in that book as well, Men from Mars, Women from Venus. Just give him this respect and this kind of, when I say respect, we can use the word respect in like treating someone cordially. That's both sides, husband, wives, everyone has to treat everyone with respect. But when I mean by respect, it's like sort of giving some sort of like venerance. This is from the traditional culture, Muslim and non-Muslim. That's why marriages used to survive. This no longer remains in marriages anymore. I mentioned many times before that there's a book called The Surrendered Wife. I don't know if you've heard of that as well, but I was just reading okay, we'll come to that later. There was another article that I just read recently. So, men do not naturally like to be controlled. That's another thing that women need to remember. Sometimes the example given is that sometimes a man is driving a car and he's taken the wrong route or the wrong turn, and the wife tries to correct him that we've taken a wrong turn. He knows it's wrong, but he will still say, no, you don't know, I'm going the other way. There's another way from there. He knows it's wrong. So some of these non-Muslim authors have said, don't correct your husband like that, unless it's like a major danger or something. Just let him, it's okay. He has this ego thing, which is a male thing, which females cannot understand. Just like men can't understand like why is she crying for no reason. So each gender has to overlook. Like sometimes women, they treat their problems. To finish that off, that men don't like to be controlled, don't like to be corrected, so therefore don't offer advices unless he asks for it, etc., etc. This is all in that book, Men from Mars, Women from Venus. He will resist being corrected, there'll be problems after that, etc. Another difference is that women like to share their feelings. Women like to deal with their problems by sharing them, talking about them. They want a long 2.5 hour boring conversation. That's how they feel better. And they don't want any solutions. Sometimes your wife will come and talk to you about, well, this happened, that happened. It's really boring. It's absolutely really boring. But if you say, you know what, for the sake of Allah, I'll listen to it. You could be thinking, you know what, I could be reading a book. I could be, like I think sometimes, you know, I've got so much to write. I'm doing my work. I'm on my laptop and I'm writing a book right now, another book. And like, you know, but this is what Islam teaches us. And this is what I talked about in Oshawa yesterday, that Islam is not what we feel is Islam. Islam is what is a requirement of the time, and you make an intention to please Allah, then that becomes ibadah. Again, one of my teachers, same one, Shaykh al-Islam al-Kawthari, used to say, he wrote a commentary on Sahih Muslim in Arabic in 6 volumes. So he used to say that I used to have a 2-hour dedicated for that. And sometimes some random guy used to come to talk to me. In those 2 hours, so precious time to write. Every day for 18 years he wrote, he had a 2-hour time. And somebody would come and ask a question or try talking to me. And you know, when you're writing, he used to say that sometimes, you know, I've read all the commentaries of Sahih Muslim, and you know, I've done some research, and after 15-20 minutes of reading together, and I've kind of made my brain that the madmoon, the topic is coming to now. I've just started writing because I've read. And suddenly someone comes like, you've been distracted. So I used to feel really like irritated. So I spoke to my sheikh, he said. And my sheikh said, look, when you write a book, who you are writing for? For Allah or for somebody else? For Allah. So then when you're talking to this person who comes to you, that's for Allah as well. You get the same reward. If it's for reward, then it's not a book, or it's not who you're talking to. It's the ultimate aim for everything is the pleasure of Allah. So if you have to just go through that boring 2-hour conversation with your wife, as long as it's not haram and don't do ghiba in it, but if you have to just listen to her and this and that and just, you know, it's difficult, you make the intentions for the sake of Allah, you get reward for it. Every act, it's not just salah, it's not just qiyamul layl. Those 2-hour conversations is an act of reward. So women like to share their feelings and talk about it, and that's why when their husbands don't talk, then they start talking to other people. In you know, good case scenarios, they'll talk to other women, and in bad case scenarios, they'll talk to other men. And then some other man will give her attention. And then problems will occur. But also in there, she has to realize as well that that man who's talking to you, giving you attention, he's talking to you because he's not next to you. If you were with him in the house, he'll do the same thing as well. Everything looks good from the outside. A lot of people who are married, they think that, oh, look at that man, he's giving me so much attention. My husband doesn't give me attention. The reason is, it's not your husband. You start living with him, he'll probably become worse. This is human nature. It's like, it's easy to give attention to people from a distance. People say, you know, on social media, well, why do people, you know, the family doesn't give me like time and, you know, love and care. Strangers do, because the reason is they're not your family, they're not living with you. You're not sharing the same bills, you're not sharing the same house, you're not sharing gas, electricity, nappies, you know, superstore, shopping, and all the problems of life. It's just very easy that you're just living separately completely, and it's easy to give attention to one another. Start living together and sharing the same bathroom and the bedroom and the toilet and the nappies and children. The same problems will occur. So, therefore, that was another topic. But I was saying that in worst case scenarios, they will start seeking that attention and someone to share their problems with other men. Therefore, take time out. So, women like to like I said, what did I say? To solve their problems and deal with their problems by talking, by conversation. They don't necessarily require solutions. They just want someone to listen to. That's what they do with even the imams. A lot of the times they don't really need. You know, some sisters call me in my office and it's like, they just want someone to talk to. That's it. They don't really. It's like long conversation and just say this happened and that happened. They just want someone to talk to. They go to other ladies as well. My mother's like an old lady in the community, and she has all sorts of women. It's just talking to her. She's always on the phone. I said, just leave it. It's just everyone talks. Just call all these ladies and they have problems in their families. And just call my mom and talk to her all day long. She gets the reward for it, inshallah. Listening to someone is also an act of reward. So, Therefore, one of the things for men to realize is that don't interrupt and offer solutions. When she's talking, sometimes it's like the man thinks that this solution is like 2 minutes. Like she's talking, okay, do this then. But no, but then do that then. It's like, it's easy, this or that. Like just get over with it. But neither this, neither that. She doesn't want solutions. She just wants to listen. Say, okay. If you get really bored, then just like try to find a time where you can do this, like in eating time or something like that, so you can do 2 things together, so you can save a bit of time. And women need to understand that men deal with their problems by going quiet, by hibernating. Generally, men solve their problems with what? They don't want to talk about it. It's the opposite. They don't want a conversation. So when he is under stress, everything, he's probably not talking too much. Don't think he's going to divorce you tomorrow. So why doesn't he smile at me anymore? Why isn't he talking? There's something wrong. Maybe it's another woman. There's something going on. Just leave him. Just let him hibernate and let him just deal with it. Within 2-3 days, he'll come around it. So these are differences between men and women. There's lots of other differences as well. So anyway, I think we'll stop because we need to move to the second point. Also, just last part over this. A woman talks a lot sometimes. Don't think she's making you responsible as a man. She's not blaming you. She's just talking to feel better, so listen, okay? Asking a man to come out from his cave is like asking a woman not to talk. Asking a man to come out from his cave, like, when he's got problems, he's just being quiet. So say that, look, smile and talk is like asking a woman to don't talk. Because 2 different genders. Men feel motivated when they feel empowered and needed. Women feel motivated when they feel cherished. Difference as well. These are things from some books like Men from Mars, Women from Venus, and some other books as well. So these are additional points. And Islam acknowledges all of this. I mentioned the hadith, the basis of the hadith of differences between men and women. And lastly, men and women speak differently. Women speak differently to men and men speak differently to women. Women don't speak literally too much. She doesn't mean things literally a lot. She uses generalizations. So therefore, men shouldn't think it's very literal. Sometimes a woman will say like, you never listen, which means that, can you please listen to me now? Or she might say, you never take us out for dinner. And you say, we just went 2 weeks ago. You can't get it. Like we went 2-3 weeks ago, we went to the restaurant, but you never take me out. That means that we should go today. She's saying you never happens. Okay, so just say you never. Just say never. Her never means different. Your never means different. Her never means different. Just don't worry about it. You never do this. Don't try to justify as a man. You never do it. No, but you know that you've done it. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't change the world. You did it. You got your reward. You don't have to start arguing. No, but look, check the phone date. This day I did do it. Like that's just being childish. You never do it. Okay, all right. Now what? You want to do it? Go. No problem. There's no time in this world to fight. That's another issue. I don't know. I don't understand where people find the time to argue. Sometimes even if you're in the right, just to save time, like, just forget arguing. Save time. There's so much things to do in the world. There's no time in the world. Where do people find to argue? Just generally, in marriage or outside marriage. There's a hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that I guarantee Jannah for someone who لمن ترك المراء وهو محق, who leaves argumentation despite being on the right. He leaves his right. He's correct and he has a right. He leaves it just because he doesn't want to argue. I guarantee house بيت في وسط الجنة. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So anyway, that was just a point, and then we move on to the second point. So this is really important. Not understanding and appreciating the opposite gender can cause problems in marriage. Learn and appreciate the inherent physical, psychological, temperamental differences between men and women. When spouses are able to respect and accept these differences, disputes will be less and love has a chance to blossom, inshaAllah ta'ala. Living and sharing everything with someone different is not easy. Yeah, so this is part of like someone, you're living and you're sharing all these things with someone who's different from you. A different human being, and not just a different human being, but also a different gender. So therefore, this is something we need to sort of appreciate and learn and understand. Point two, second major cause for breakdown of marriages, this in itself is another lecture topic. Gender roles are mixed up, especially in this day and age. This is why traditionally we had marriages that was remaining, that was saved. The whole system around us has changed. This gender role, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created again men. This second point is connected to the first point. Because we are different, it's a consequence of the first point. Because men and women are different, the role for each gender is different. Allah created men and women differently, so of course, if there are differences, then the role of each gender will be different. The role of a man will be based on the way he is created physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. The roles and responsibilities of a woman will be based on how she has been created by God, physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, whatever. So the roles are different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created men and women because they complement one another. They're not there to compete with one another. It's a jigsaw puzzle. Perfect, each gender complementing and completing the other gender. Not competing, for 3 words now. Each gender, the man and woman, they are completing one another and complementing one another. Let's leave complementing. They are completing one another, not competing with one another. This is this comes first time in my life as a phrase to me. I'm just going to make a note of this. No, tweet this. Things just come in the brain sometimes. Completing and competing. Men and women are not supposed to compete with one another. They're supposed to complete one another. It's a perfect jigsaw puzzle. But today, one of the reasons why we have problems is because men don't remain men. I've written here, men should remain men, women should remain women. We live in a time that gender roles have been mixed up. One of the reasons is feminism. Big problem. Feminism is a big problem. I'm going to be frank and open. One of the major problems, especially in North America, is feminism. If we say feminism, which means rights of women and treating women well, then of course that's what Islam says. But if we mean by feminism, which is crazy, it's in the West, but more so in your country, more in America than Canada, and a bit less in our country, UK. But feminism here is on a whole different level, seriously. I've been coming here, like I said, this is my 16th trip to Toronto, but I've been to Canada many other times as well, and America many, many times. Some of the things in the US I've seen, some of the cases and marriage problems, it is on a complete different level. Words I hear as mansplaining and, there's just so many. People say explaining is mansplaining. Have you heard of that term? There's some women, and may Allah forbid, and inshallah Muslims are not like that, they actually absolutely have hatred toward the male gender. Just hate, abhor women completely. That's why then they become lesbians. Many feminists are lesbians. They abhor, like in their identity, in their blood, they hate the male species like crazily. So gender roles are mixed up. The perfect jigsaw puzzle of each completing one another was, Allah said, a man marries a woman marries a man. But now, men have become like half women. They no longer remain men, not everyone, but sometimes. And women have become half men. So having a perfect jigsaw puzzle, a man marrying a woman, now we've got a half man and a woman marrying a half man and a half woman. You're going to have a clash because they're both similar. The gender roles each have been mixed up. Traditionally, this is what I was saying, that even many non-Muslims talk about this. This is the article I just saw the other day, last week. someone wrote, a non-Muslim wrote an article. The title is, I want to submit to my husband like a 50s housewife inside the controversial UK tradwife movement. There's a tradwife. Trad means traditional wife. So tradwife or tradwife, I don't know. There's a proper movement, stylist.co.uk. The tradwife movement is one of the most concerning trends to have emerged in the past few years, with more and more women looking to switch their careers and independence for tending to home and every will of their spouse. Jenny Smith was 23 and working long days as a finance administrator when she read a book that changed her life. Most of my friends wanted to have it all, career, partner, family, but I'd always secretly aspired to be a homemaker. She says, I don't know what this is, something aprons and Doris Day, while women my age preferred the footballers' wives look, all big hair, and it's a long article, you could read it yourself, inshallah. This is a massive movement, and seriously, many non-Muslims, they're going back to this because it's the fitrah upon which Allah has created a woman is that she wants to be submissive. She wants to be submissive. You know, there's so many non-Muslim women who actually have big career jobs and they're bosses of big firms and companies. They actually say that, we don't feel good about this, so that's why they actually, when they go into the intimate relationship, they become very, very submissive. There's articles on this topic. They literally sometimes pay to get this, without going to explicit, they get people to literally make them submit in the bedroom. And the reason why, I read about all of this when I was writing my book, they actually say the reason is that we're too powerful. Whole week, all the men are working under, we want to now we feel we want to be submissive. Because that's the nature Allah created. The people have gone against the fitrah. Because society has made us think that this is the fitrah. The fitrah of a woman was different to a man. And men they've become lazy. Because they see it, so they become lazy. They're no longer remaining as a man who was looking after, who was caring for, who was breadwinning, who was giving all the love and care and attention and taking the woman under her wing and making her like, someone he looked after. This is how marriage used to be. A woman used to be like a baby in a relationship. People use the word baby, but she was really a baby. That was the real relationship. The man never used to be controlling, was someone who gave love, care, attention. And that's why we find things in the hadith, حَتَّى مَا تَجْعَلُ فِي إِمْرَأَتِكَ. The Messenger ﷺ says it's sadaqah to feed your wife food, even the morsel of food that you put in your wife's mouth. Why that example? Because that's how a man would actually literally feed his wife, put food in her mouth. That's how a good relationship. These are gender roles. We need to get back to those traditional roles. So sadly, many disputes occur due to gender roles being mixed up. And because of this, I think this is probably the main, from all these 10 reasons, this reason number 2 is probably the main reason, the main contributing factor why marriages end up in divorce and why we have divorces and separations. Probably the most from all these 10 reasons. Well, all of them are important, but probably slightly more important than all the other reasons. So I think really what's important for our Muslim brothers and sisters both need to go back to understand what is the maqsad, the objective of our creation. Allah created us, we need to ask Allah, oh Allah, you created us, what's the maqsad of me as a man being created? What's the maqsad? What's my role? What's my gender role? What's my responsibility? And the taqseem of Allah that He's done between men and women, we need to get back to that. So with that, inshallah, it will help. This doesn't mean that, sometimes women think, because you see, some women feel that it's, this is men controlling us and they're our bosses. It's not like that. You've been deluded. The society, it was the men who themselves deluded the women. We're going to end with this. We're men, someone's given alarm clock that time's up. But men, men are very cunning people. They deluded the women. Non-Muslims have written on this topic. In the workplace, I'm not saying women can't work. We live in a time women have to work. But really, the responsibility was of the man. Men were working, doing labor work, long hours of work. They used to get bored at work. In the post-industrial times, they used to get bored. It was so difficult for them to work, and they were bored. They had no motivation. So you know what they did? They said, we need women here. The only way we're able to enjoy our work, like every day boring, going to workplace, you think about she's going to be there, and she's going to be there, and she'll be dressed in this way, and she's going to be dressed in that way. It gives them motivation. There are flirting going on at the workplace. So they pull the women from their homes and deceive them by saying to them, no equal rights, you should be going out as well. Look, only men go out. You guys are all like you. Get them out of the house. Deceive them. And pull them out just because they were bored. So made them do work. And most of the work that they were given in the beginning were all lowly jobs anyway. And even till today, how many prime ministers of the world in relation to men and women? Still. So made them do the work of a secretary, work of this, be my personal assistant, this, that, those kind of jobs, just to fulfill their own desires. And the homework, they still had to do that. They still had to give birth, and they still had to, look after, breastfeed, and still had to change their nappies, and still had to do the homework. Allah did taqseem that, look, men, you go and do the breadwinning, and you do the housework, or look after. But the way the men pull them out, now the women are so depressed because they think they have to do a finance degree as well, they have to run a big business as well, plus they have to look after the kids as well, and they have to do, so they're double, so much stress and pressure on their lives. Because the men don't help there as well. It wasn't that the men said, okay, all right, I'm not working, I'm going to sit at home, and I'll look after, and I'll give birth, and I'll look after, and I'll you work, and I'll stay at home. That could work sometimes. Just completely reverse, the complete reversing. The man just sits at home, and that could work. That's better than forcing the woman to work as well, and plus at the same time do all the household responsibilities, or majority of them. So the woman got deceived, and the woman was told that, oh woman, you know what? If you cook food at home, and cook some nice food, and feed and give that food to your husband, to your father, to your son, to your daughter, to your sister, brother, to your family members, and you present that food and serve that food, then that means you are backward. But if you serve the same food to 200 passengers on Air Canada, that's forwardness. They were deceived. They're doing the same job. If you do it for your family, you're backward. This is medieval times. Like, come on, where's women's rights gone? But you do the same thing, 200 passengers on Air Canada, here, can I give you something? Can I give you something? Hi, and everyone's just staring at you and you're doing the same job. That means now you've got women's rights. Crazy world this is. So women to understand, if someone tells you being a mom at home is backwardness, then that person himself is backward. The greatest ni'mah that Allah can give you is being a mom, looking after children. There's nothing great than that. There's no greater chore and job in the world than being a mom at home. And that's why young children at a young age, they need mother. That's why even in child custody laws, the mother keeps the children. Because from a young age, they need the mother. Then when they get older, then they need the father. But the father's roles, both should have their roles, of course, but the majority main role in the beginning is of the mother. So never let anyone make you feel that being a mom or staying at home and looking after, you just tell your husband, like, I'm not doing it. You get all the money and everything. I'm here, I'm waking up, I'm breastfeeding, People don't breastfeed because of their careers. I'm looking after the babies, and you go and bring every single dollar. I'm not giving 1 cent in the house. That's no problem. That is totally fine. Nothing. If I get some money, I'm keeping it in my back pocket. I'm not even giving you anything. If someone gives me a gift, my parents give me anyone, it's all in my, nothing. You don't have to give a penny or a cent. You pay for everything. But then you have to remember that doesn't mean that he has to give you a massive mansion as well. If he's paying for everything, if he gives you this much, then you just have to get this much. So that's also something that we need to keep in mind, inshallah. We're going to end with this. So this is point 2. We've got point 3 till point 10, and then we've got divorce and separation rules that we will talk about, inshallah, tomorrow, and then we'll have some questions as well, inshallah. So we'll try to start, just be here on time, 9 o'clock, and if you can, maybe I'll come, early, if you can start like 9:20 or something tomorrow, then inshallah, we'll be able to complete it. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakumullah khair, Mufti Sahib, for today's session, for this 2-day program, this workshop. Inshallah, now we will have the food. We're just waiting for the food to arrive, so it's on its way and it's coming. So the brothers and sisters requested to kindly just have some patience. Inshallah, it's on its way. As soon as it arrives, inshallah, we can partake in the food. And as Mufti Sahib has mentioned, we're going to continue tomorrow. So inshallah, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, the same schedule. We're going to have our registration or maybe even breakfast at that time. And then after that, then around 9:20, the program will start. And like Mufti Sahib has mentioned, tomorrow we will have the Q&A. So if you have any questions today, it'd be a good idea to write it down right now in your, in the pamphlets that you're given. So that way tomorrow you don't forget. So, Jazakumullah khair everyone for coming today, inshallah, and I hope to see you tomorrow.